The US says Hong Kong is no longer autonomous from mainland China as Beijing moves to implement a new national security law. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode has been sponsored by Surfshark because you should be using a reliable VPN whenever you go online, especially if you're in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, the Pearl of the Orient, a pearl that's currently being swallowed by the gaping maw of an ancient, once slumbering evil, the Chinese Communist Cthulhu. That's not me saying that. It's the US State Department. Okay, they said it in slightly less colorful language. According to the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, each year the State Department has to tell Congress whether Hong Kong is sufficiently autonomous from China to justify its unique treatment. This week, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo told Congress that no reasonable person can assert today that Hong Kong maintains a high degree of autonomy from China, given facts on the ground. That is huge. Not this huge, but it's significant. Pompeo made that statement on May 27th, a week after Beijing suddenly announced that the National People's Congress, or NPC, would look at passing a national security law for Hong Kong. The law would ban secession, subversion of state power, foreign interference, and terrorism. Now, all that would not be quite as scary if we were talking about a liberal democracy. But we're talking about the Chinese Communist Cthulhu. That means what this law would really ban is any protest against the Chinese regime and, by extension, the Hong Kong government, like all the protests in Hong Kong over the past year. The law would come directly from Beijing and would be applied to Hong Kong without a vote from the Hong Kong Legislative Council. That essentially ends the autonomy Hong Kong was promised under one country, two systems. On Thursday, the NPC officially voted to implement this national security law. 2,878 for and 1 against? Don't get too excited about the fact that one person voted against it. The same thing happened during the vote to end term limits for Chinese leader Xi Jinping. It's how the Chinese Communist Party likes to pretend these are democratic votes. I mean, having everyone vote for something unanimously would look suspicious. So, let's just have one person vote against it. Perfect. Looks totally legit now. Now, it's important to clarify that the NPC vote does not mean the national security law has been passed. They have to write it first. Yeah, that's how it works. First, the NPC votes for the law, and then the NPC Standing Committee figures out what's in it. Look, don't ask questions. But we do have at least an idea of what will be in the law from the text of the NPC's decision to establish it. For example, Section 2 says that the state will employ necessary measures to counter, lawfully prevent, stop, and punish foreign and overseas forces' use of Hong Kong to carry out separatist, subversive, infiltrative, or destructive activities. So, I'm not sure how welcome China Uncensored would be in Hong Kong under this new national security law. But the most alarming part of the upcoming law is in Section 4. The organs of the Central People's Government relevant for the protection of national security are to set up institutions in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region as required to lawfully perform duties related to the preservation of national security. Let me translate. That means that Chinese secret police, either the Ministry of State Security or something like that, would be allowed to legally operate in Hong Kong. That's never happened before. And it's one more sign that one country, two systems is over. You know, millions of Hong Kongers marched in the streets last year because they were afraid of being dragged away to the secret police in China, which then really happened. But good news, Hong Kongers, now you won't have to worry about that anymore because Beijing is bringing the secret police to you. Now, despite the risks, the people of Hong Kong haven't taken this lying down. Thousands marched through the streets over the weekend to protest the national security law. These signs say, "Heaven will destroy the Chinese Communist Party." Yeah, holding or even printing those signs will probably be illegal under the national security law. Meanwhile, those protesters were met with familiar tear gas and pepper guns from the Hong Kong police. But protests broke out again on Wednesday when the Hong Kong Legislative Council was debating a national anthem law. Oh yeah, I haven't even talked about the national anthem law yet. It would mean that Hong Kongers could be jailed for up to 3 years for parodying or insulting the Chinese national anthem. And Hong Kong's pro-Beijing lawmakers have been trying to push that law through this week. But it hasn't been easy. This is pro-democracy lawmaker Eddie Chu being physically dragged out of LegCo for opposing it. And Hong Kong police were stationed across the city on Wednesday to stop protesters from marching against it. When there were protests anyway, police responded with pepper guns and more than 300 arrests. So where do things stand now? It's not clear how long it will take the NPC Standing Committee to write the national security law for Hong Kong. It could take as little as a month, or it could be several months. Meanwhile, the backlash against the Chinese Communist Party for the law has been more substantial than they were probably expecting. The US, UK, Australia, and Canada issued a joint statement condemning the move. Taiwan says it will welcome Hong Kongers who flee the security law crackdown. But the most significant response is the US declaring that Hong Kong is no longer autonomous from China. That could be a huge blow to Hong Kong's status as an international financial hub. It opens the door for the US Congress or President Trump to issue sanctions against Chinese and Hong Kong officials, or to revoke America's special trade status with Hong Kong. Now, while those actions would definitely harm the Chinese Communist Party, some of them could also harm Hong Kong. But many Hong Kongers are welcoming the US government's actions anyway. That's because one of the growing themes of the Hong Kong protests has been the idea of lam chao. In English, this idea has been translated as, "If we burn, you burn with us." Basically, the Hong Kong protesters know they can't stop their city from being swallowed by the Chinese Communist Cthulhu. But they can try their hardest to make Cthulhu choke on it. So Hong Kong might suffer some damage, but they say it would be worth it to bring down the Chinese Communist Party. One thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting few months ahead. And this episode has been sponsored by Surfshark. If you're in Hong Kong, or thinking of going to Hong Kong, or you're in another country but want to do online research about Hong Kong, you should be using a VPN to protect your identity. Every time you go online, the government and your internet service provider may be tracking every website you visit and everything you do. That's why you should install Surfshark on all your devices, your computer, your tablet, and your cell phone. With one Surfshark account, you can connect as many devices as you want. Try it out with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Surfshark has a special discount for China Uncensored fans. Go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code UNCENSORED to get 85% off a 2-year plan and 3 extra months for free. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.